Honorable Mayor, members of council, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. As the mayor said, I'm David Schott. I'm the new Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. It's my pleasure to introduce Jonathan Graydon, who graduated from the University of Idaho in 2013 with a degree in journalism. As one who lives a car-free life, he joined the Paradise Path Task Force in the summer of 2014, seeking to serve the community within the fields of cycling and pedestrian safety. Jonathan has served as the chair of the Moscow Pathways Commissions for nearly a year now, and he's here to present their annual report. So,
thank you. Thank you, Dave, for introducing me. Mayor, council members, community members, I represent the Moscow Pathways Commission, which, according to our mission statement, promotes and advises the development of a path system in and around Moscow, embracing three important community concerns: active transportation, recreation, and resource conservation enhancement, which ties in very closely with Earth Day, as the mayor announced. First, I wanted to go over a quick year in review of some of our accomplishments. As a group, we did community outreach, looked at some improvements, and did some advising. Under community outreach, we did the farmers market booth 3 times, I believe, during the summer, and where we had the table set up with a little sandwich board, and I'll show that later. And we took in community feedback, got the word out about the pathways, because especially with a lot of new people coming to town, students, everybody, they didn't know about that, so it was pretty cool. In the summer, we did a path tour starting up at the Mountain View Park section on the north end of town, rode down, including part of the new Greenway pilot that transportation has been working on, and we rode along the Paradise Path section to Berman Creekside Park, where we enjoyed some refreshments. And that was really cool. We had a couple kids on there, some community members. For our improvements, we did a new tree and bench in honor of Margaret Littlejohn. As Margaret Dibble mentioned, she passed away from cancer just over a year ago and was highly involved in the community. Very big steps to fill in for my part and for a bunch of other people. We got the Troy Highway underpass at Steiner Avenue, White Avenue. We got that approved and in the process of seeking grant funding. We also heard and fielded a citizen issue with the upkeep and future of Berman Creekside Park, and 2 of our members on the commission are helping coordinate with Friends of Berman Creekside, outside the commission, but community involvement there to revitalize the park. For advising, we heard some feedback on the proposed Peekaboo Estates on the north end of town between Orchard and Mountain View. That was where in our master plan there had been a path section supposedly was supposed to be there. We gave our feedback on ways to coordinate with the development of the estates while maintaining the integrity of the path system, and I believe we satisfactorily saw that through. We also are coordinating on signs on orphan paths within the city limits, basically little pedestrian rights of way that are city property that people might not know about. For instance, there is one on Mountain View Street on the north end of town where it makes a sharp right-hand corner going down the hill. And so we've been putting signs up to let people know that those are actual path sections they can use. We also have been working on wayfinding signage design with Transportation Commission. One of our members, her student friend was doing graphic design and was looking at the aesthetics, so then we collaborated with Les McDonald on the actual. Les was looking at the functional aspects of the signage, what places would be signed off, where those signs would be, and we provide some input on aesthetic design to keep the motif of the Paradise Path system. Moving on, here is our Moscow Farmers Market booth. Karen Clifford, one of our members, put this together, and it has photos of all the different path sections, some information on the overall path system. Very well done, and showing the activities, showing the various goals of the City Commission. We also, this was the Margaret Littlejohn Memorial Bench and Tree, and that is on the Mountain View Path section between Good Samaritan and Mountain View Park, shortly after the left-hand bend when you're heading north. And this bench will be great for families with kids coming down from the park, as well as seniors from Good Samaritan. It's a good midway point to stop and rest, and there's a good view of the Moscow Mountain. So that was something we oversaw and helped collaborate with, as well as with Latah Trail Foundation and a bunch of other city commissions. Moving on, our current projects and goals will continue the community outreach. We have 3 times on the Moscow Farmers Market. I think we will also be participating in the Sustainability Fair, but that is on our next meeting agenda a week from tomorrow. We will be doing some more group rides and path tours and things, getting people involved that way. For improvements, we're looking to paint edge stripes on the whole path system. As many of you noticed, through Berman Creekside Park and out to the start of the Latah Trail, reflective side stripes were put on about 3 years ago, and so we're looking to do that on the whole path system because it's very affordable, but the safety benefits are very good. And we're looking at a center stripe through Berman Creekside Park because of all the winding corners. That was a citizen feedback we heard. And also near Good Samaritan, potentially, with that corner there. We're also potentially looking into the feasibility of a Highway 95 underpass near Sweet Avenue. This probably won't be anything that we'll act on for another year or so, but we're kind of keeping that in mind as the White Avenue underpass works kind of comes to fruition. We'll also continue our advising, developing wayfinding signage for the whole system. We want to integrate with Safe Routes to School and the Greenways pilot and other forms of non-motorized transportation to provide a cohesive network. My second point, working with Transportation and Safe Routes to School, we want to develop a comprehensive bike walk map that can be like a trifold brochure that we can hand out to everybody. We can stock at the visitor information centers, things like that. We will also work to make city pathway easements, those orphan paths, better known both to the community and to property owners who might not know that there's an easement there. So just to stave off any potential problems down the road. And looking over the next several years, looking at the master pathway plan and looking at ways to achieve that, including some development on the west end of town, possibly just looking at that pathway plan, seeing how we can develop that. I think this is pretty much the end of our presentation. However, our work continues. Do you have any questions?
Well, I've got one question. This may be a question for either Dave or Dwight. And that, you're talking about a comprehensive bike and walk path brochure type of thing. We have one now for bikeways and walkways, don't we? Somewhere, is that in Parks and
We had one from about 3 years ago that didn't have all of the newer pathways and things on it, and it didn't have the Greenway pilot. We do have like the comprehensive map, but that's a little bit of information overload for most people. What I'm looking at is something that can be easily digested. You know, here's the pathways, here's the kind of safe routes, here's the Greenway.
And the reason I ask that question is there are people coming to our community all the time, and some simplistic, like they didn't need to know the whole comprehensive layout of our town, but they sure like to know where the trails and the pathways are so they can ride bikes or walk or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the goal with this. My background is in journalism with some graphic design experience, so I'm hoping as soon as we get some of the we're working with Safe Routes to School to nail down some of their pathways, find some of the updated map files. There's a guy who's working with some ArcGIS and other map programs. I can take that map, simplify it, put it into a brochure, fold out brochure, and then on the other panes, contact information, general safety, other information, a little bit about the community. And that is something I think we want to do within the next year or less, if we can.
Well, I'd be very interested in seeing that, so go get them. That'd be great. Walter?
Did I understand that we do have a master plan, and is it up to date showing what's built and what's not yet built? I'm not sure who to address that to.
We need to look at the master plan. I know the master plan that we had was a few years old, and it included, working around with the ring road, which, as you know, some of that has changed. So I believe we do have we do have some comprehensive up-to-date maps with the greenway, the bike routes, and the path system, and we have been working off of those for some of our plans. In fact, that was part of what spurred off with the Peekaboo Estates. The marked on those was one of the proposed path sections, and they wanted to put a street right through there, so we're working around that.
If there's such a document available in a single piece, if someone could send the council a copy, we'd probably like to see where we are in terms of, the planning as you know it and what's built, and we can see what's missing, so that when you come back and bring it up to us, we'll have a little better understanding of what you're proposing.
Yeah.
Honorable Mayor, Councilor Steed, I'm afraid I don't know the answer specifically to your question, but we will research it. And
If it exists, I think council would just like to have it sent to them so we can see it.
Yeah, that'd be
absolutely.
great.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anybody else for Jim?
As the liaison to the Pathways Commission, I want to commend Jonathan and the other commission members for the work they've done in the last year advancing human-powered transportation in Moscow. And I think they're going in the right direction and trying to find pathways that need to be improved and do it in an orderly fashion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yep, thank you, Mayor,
Okay.
Council, Committee.